Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Room Podcast. This is episode 20. It's Monday afternoon, a couple days before the new year, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joby Fawcett. Joby, how we doing?
Joe, I've got to tell you, what a great and glorious weekend we had of high school athletics. I'm dragging a little bit today, I can't lie.
Yeah.
You and I both had a very long Saturday.
Yeah.
Compiling box score after box score that continually came in on these various holiday tournaments. And then last night, of course, we had the conclusion of the Bynum Memorial Basketball Tournament over at the Lackawanna College Student Union. We also had other tournaments ending, and I'm trying to collect things for social media and photos, and I'm trying to produce videos. And I am not Steven Spielberg, Joe, so it does take me a little longer than most to cut up a quick 30-second video highlight clip. And the next thing I know, it's 2 a.m. So, yeah, we're dragging a little bit. Just got back from the gym. We're ready to go and hopefully get off to a good start to the new year.
I hear you, Joby. Joby, if you're not Steven Spielberg, you're the next best thing, man.
Yeah, I hardly believe that to be true.
Joby, about 5 minutes before we started this recording, I had a nosebleed, so we're going. We're firing on all cylinders.
Joe, are you recording this podcast with your head back and
that's it? Yeah, I've got some ice.
Nose pinched.
Yep, exactly. So that's why I sound a little nasally, but we'll battle through.
I do like to see you being a game time player.
That's right. I won't sit anything out. So another athlete who battled through over the weekend, actually dominated, our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, Brian Hurd of Abington Heights Wrestling, joins us now. Brian, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good. So what Brian did over the weekend at the Jim Thorpe Christmas tournament, he had 4 pins and 2 technical falls en route to the 172-pound title, where he also earned most outstanding wrestler at that event. He's ranked second in the state, according to PA Power Wrestling, and he has 143 career victories. Brian, just to start off, obviously you're a fantastic wrestler, one of the best in the state, but how did you get your start in wrestling?
I guess when it first started was when I was just younger, and my dad was just trying me out for different sports, and I just started wrestling while I was playing baseball and football at the same time. And then just over the years, by getting older, decided to focus on one sport, and that has stuck with wrestling. So.
Well, Brian, it certainly has been a great decision on your part to stick with wrestling. You've been a very accomplished athlete at Abington Heights over the last several years. Kind of tell me about how this year has gone for you so far. With winning over the weekend and being the most outstanding wrestler, that's a pretty good Christmas present.
Yeah, it is. I wrestled at this tournament every year in high school. I've never won the outstanding wrestler. I've had a few teammates win it. So it was cool to finally get that trophy. So.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. You speak about those other wrestlers. You got people like Caleb Marzolino, Luke Sirianni, Austin Smith, people that, have obviously had success at the state level as well. You came in underneath them. Are those some of the wrestlers that you looked up to as you first started, and did you learn anything from them?
Yeah, when I first got into high school, Luke Sirianni was a great person to look up to. He's done it. He already went to states and placed by the time I was coming in. So he was just a great leader. And same with Caleb. I'm wrestling Caleb the most. He was a little bit bigger than me, but still just him being able to beat up on me every day in the room, making me better and just learning.
Brian, you've obviously gotten to a point where you just love this sport. Tell me about the dedication and commitment it takes to reach the levels that you have of success on mat.
Yeah, it's no days off, and it's truly that. Even in the summer, I'm going 5 times a week at least to practice, and still wrestling in tournaments, just constant grinding all year long.
Yeah, and it's kind of, obviously you've put in a lot of effort. Abington Heights as a whole has been so successful in recent years, building up that program. You've got a great youth program over there. I know that you guys, I believe you go to Mad Assassins as well, put in that extra work. How has this Abington Heights program been able to become such a success?
So like with all those like leaders in the room that we have like that are now like starting to graduate, but we have a ton of those like top tier wrestlers that are just making everybody else better, which is just fun to see.
Brian, so you're going to the University of Pennsylvania, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So having that decision made, and great school, obviously, and a great wrestling program there, having that decision made as you get on the mat this year, how has that kind of put your mind at ease so you can concentrate really on the physical part and the dieting part and all the other preparations you have to make to get ready for a high school wrestling season?
Yeah, it is nice not to have that on my mind anymore. Like it's a lot having like tons of coaches texting you and just keeping in contact with all of them. So now I don't got to worry about all that. Just one of them, just one coaching staff. So, and like with weight wise, like the past 2 years haven't been like cutting the most weight, which has been like real nice for me. It's made wrestling a lot more fun. And it really helped with like my mental and like being able to free everything up. Maybe that like contributed to some postseason success last year, but I don't know.
Absolutely, Brian. Let's talk a little bit about that commitment to Penn. We obviously talked about it in the summer when it happened, but why don't you tell everyone how you kind of came to that decision? I know that you were really considering Rutgers as well. What was it about Penn that made you choose there?
Penn was like an early one. They reached out real early, so they've always been near. Like Rutgers, they like had like a last push, and like I went on a visit there late, and I liked it, but Penn was just more complete for me. It just was better fit for everything, like the lineup wise, just what I was like going to school for. They had more of it, like, so just everything seemed to work out there. And
what are you
people telling me it's the right decision? I think so too.
Absolutely. Just a follow up. What are you do you know what you're looking to get into as far as academically?
Right now, I'm probably going to go in there undecided, maybe like pick out a major and see what it's like, but don't have to commit to anything until like end of sophomore year. So,
right.
Brian, coming off of the success you've had this weekend, the regular season kicks back into gear here, and you're still going to do some invitationals and stuff in the next couple of months, but kind of tell me your mindset coming out of the holiday, obviously, and getting yourself ready for the new year.
Yeah, well, this is like the most fun type of year. There's wrestling like every few days. It's like the grind part of the season. So it's just always fun to be going to tournaments, not having to practice all the time. Like you get to actually go and compete and show what you're doing, like show what all this like hard work been paying off for. And
yeah, absolutely. Brian, how was your Christmas? Did you get any good gifts? Any food that you could have? Anything like that? How was your Christmas?
Christmas was pretty good. I got to eat a lot, even though I went down a weight class, still feasted quite a bit. I ate a little bit more than I should have, but still were able to make that weigh-ins like 2 days after. But yeah, other than that, got some Penn shirts and stuff, so I don't mind.
You have to have the gear, Brian, when you arrive on campus.
Yeah. How about, Brian, we talked about Athlete of the Week interview, some teams that you like, and you said you're a big Steelers fan. I know you're busy, so I don't know how much time you really get to watch the Steelers, but they're in a little bit of a lose go. What do you think of how the Steelers have been this season?
Well, the tough couple week stretch there, they're playing. Those are the best teams in the NFL. I don't know if I'm gonna I really judge their performance off those 3 losses, but they got to beat the Bengals. They got to beat the Bengals and everything's back and get a good playoff run.
Absolutely.
Now, Brian, being such a devoted wrestler that you are, I'm sure that you follow Penn State wrestling too. I mean, you're going to Penn, But how much are you in tune or in touch with following the collegiate wrestling since you're going to be at that level someday?
Yeah, so I don't do like such a good job of watching like dual meets and matches individually, but I do like follow all of it and know what's going on. I've been like obviously following Penn the most now that like
Right.
committed there. So that's been my world recently, just following whatever they're doing. And then like still like following Flow Wrestling on Instagram. So they just keep me updated and I look at all the big matches on there.
So Brian, piggybacking off that, how much do you follow the fellow high school wrestlers that you may be seeing somewhere down the road or even at some of these invitationals?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I follow anybody at like my weight class necessarily. I just like follow my friends more. So like friends from like different schools, just seeing how they're doing and just rooting them on, you know. Not so much just like competitors on my weight class, seeing if they're like winning and losing. Like I don't like to bother myself with all that, you know.
Right. Don't want to be distracted, right? You have your own goals.
Exactly. Last thing from me, Brian, you also said you follow Penn State football. They've got, I don't know how closely, but they got a big game on tomorrow, Tuesday, New Year's Eve. What do you think? What do you think of that game against Boise?
I mean, I think they should go in there and just beat up Boise State.
I agree with you.
But at the same time, like the more winning, the more they're gonna keep Franklin around. And I don't know if you get the national championship going. So
yes,
and that's what we need in the end. We need the national championship, not these like bowl games, you know.
Yes.
Brian, is it safe to say you didn't send James Franklin a Christmas card this year?
Yeah, it's safe to say. I don't know if I have his address even. But.
Well, Brian, I think you share the same sentiments of a lot of Penn State fans, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but well, Brian, hey, thanks so much for taking the time off around this holiday season.
Now, Joe, wait a minute.
You go ahead.
We cannot let Brian go without me asking.
No.
The wrestling question.
No.
Brian, have you seen Vision Quest?
I've seen probably 3/4 of it for the first time this year.
Oh, wow.
See?
But like, believe it or not, like I've never really watched that.
Okay, but yeah, the word is getting around, Joe. See? We have more
People
and
are
more of these
watching it.
wrestlers coming on the Film Room podcast. We can recommend that feature.
That's
Brian,
right.
I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it.
My parents were the ones that wanted me to watch. They put it on, so like I ended up watching like the first half of the movie, but I didn't get to see the end.
Well, your parents have wonderful tastes in wrestling movies, and I would encourage you to watch the full thing in its entirety and get yourself pumped up with the soundtrack of Vision Quest.
Yeah, I know, like Lunatic Fringe.
There you go. You got it.
No.
Oh man, you just made Joby's day, Brian. You
Yes.
just made his day. Oh man. Well, it can't get any higher than that. So, Brian, again, thanks so much for taking the time off. Congratulations on, your tournament, bunch of tournament wins already. Getting the Athlete of the Week here again, I believe for the 4th time in your career. Congrats on all that and good luck. Good luck the rest of the season, my friend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
Brian.
you.
Congratulations, Brian. And listen, you 4-time Athlete of the Week. That's 4 more times than Joe was during his high school career. So that's certainly something you want to hang your hat on. And tell all your friends over at Abington Heights through the Abington Heights media outlet, Benny Magnotta. Watch Vision Quest and listen to the Film Room podcast.
All right.
All right.
Brian, have a great new year.
Yeah,
thanks,
thank
Brian.
you. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. That was Brian Hurd of Abington Heights wrestling, our athlete of the week, brought to you by the Lehigh Valley Orthopedic Institute. Joby. What a great kid. And Joby, I mean, it's amazing. Like, we talked to him, very nice kid, but once he's on the mat, man, he just absolutely, he dominates his opponent. He's fun to watch. Like I said, 143 career wins. I mean, he's looking at, he'll have an opportunity. Evan Craig, as you know, 2-time state champion and wins record holder at Abington Heights. He's got 169. I mean, that kind of tells you the tier, that Brian Hurd is on.
Yeah, Joe, listen, being a multiple Athlete of the Week winner, we kind of get familiar with some of these guys. And We have not had many, Joe, in the history of the Athlete of the Week. A few more now, more recently, because a lot of the athletes are getting up to that varsity level much earlier than they had in previous generations. But that is something he can really be proud of, him and his family. And, just kind of be part of the legacy he's leaving at Abington Heights is he's a 4-time Athlete of the Week winner here at the Times-Tribune, and that is really incredible. And, just to be the most outstanding wrestler at one of these invitationals, we've had a couple of them now, Joe, from the Lackawanna League, which says a lot and speaks volumes for the competition level here in the league that you're going to be covering in the next couple of weeks.
It's no small feat, Joby. You said it. It speaks to the talent of these wrestlers that, it kind of becomes like, I don't want to say ho-hum, but it's just like, oh yeah, Brian Hurd, he got the most outstanding wrestler at this tournament. It's just like, it's just amazing that that's the kind of thing that becomes so like, it's commonplace. It shouldn't be overlooked at all, but like these wrestlers are so good that it's become commonplace for them.
Yeah, they're putting in the time, Joe, and they represent this area so well. You really have to be happy for that and really be proud of the accomplishments that they are putting out there, and certainly reaping the benefits in the long term. I mean, you're talking about a kid who got a scholarship to Penn. I mean, they don't just hand those out on silver platters, Joe.
No, exactly.
You have to earn those, especially on the wrestling scene. So congratulations to Brian and his family, and he really had a great way to kind of celebrate Christmas by taking home that most outstanding wrestler award.
Without a doubt, Joby. And let's kind of piggyback off that. Let me hit on a couple wrestling accomplishments over the weekend. Like you said, it's always busy, even around the holidays. We had some wrestling tournaments. Michael Turry, again, another.
Yeah, we just had him on, John. You know what?
Just had him on. Yeah.
I failed to ask him about Vision Quest.
That's right.
He was such an engaging young man that I had lost my train of thought.
We'll have to have him back on just to ask him that question. But he won another tournament title at the Bethlehem Holiday Wrestling Classic. That's the 4th tournament title for him. He beat Quakertown's Gavin Carroll in the final, I believe by a 6-1 decision. Carroll's ranked 5th in the state. Turry's ranked 3rd in the state. So that's a premier matchup and a nice victory for him. He got 6 points in the 3rd period to take that match.
Joe, fun fact about Quakertown. I used to live in a small area called Richland Town, which is just outside of that school district. And had I not moved to Northeast Pennsylvania, I would have been a student at Quakertown High School, and certainly would have still not been tough enough to be on the wrestling team.
That's fair. That's fair, Joby. Don't sell yourself short. Come on now.
So now all the Lakeland fans who are listening to this broadcast, Joe, will be very happy to know that I moved to this district way back in 1978.
Right. Exactly, Joby. So at that tournament also, West Scranton finished 13th. Colin Legier placed 2nd in his weight class. Mark Redmond placed 3rd. Holmesdale had a nice showing. They actually finished 11th, 2 places ahead of West Scranton. And freshman Nathan Schumann led them, placing 2nd at 107. Matt Almedina placed 4th at the My House Trojan Wars at Chambersburg. That's a tough tournament out there. At the Jim Thorpe Christmas tournament, Abington Heights placed 3rd. Mason Whitney added a title on top of Brian Hurd's title. For Abington Heights, Jake Chavone placed 2nd, Luke Evans 3rd. But Wallenpaupack actually won that tournament. Another good showing for them. Giovanni Lamonaco and Conan Kyer capturing titles to lead the Buckhorns there. Valley View's Richie Leslie placed 2nd at 152. And Frank Wattis Memorial Tournament at Tunkhannock. We had a couple Lackawanna Leaguers, including Scranton's Drew Leonori, again continuing his strong start to the season, and Lackawanna Trail's Demetrius Douglas, who obviously you're familiar with in football. They won titles at the Frank Wattis Memorial.
Good weekend for Demetrius.
Yes, exactly. So that's just some wrestling accomplishments. over the weekend. Congratulations to all of them. We'll be getting back to the league season this week, like you said. But before we move ahead, let's talk about a little holiday basketball action, Joby, and there was a lot.
Yo, a little bit of holiday basketball.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. Honest to goodness, I felt like I went 3 rounds with Mike Tyson on Saturday nights.
Exactly.
Not this version of Mike Tyson, not mine.
Right.
The much younger version of Mike Tyson.
Exactly.
No, listen, the teams do a great job. They're always very excited about these tournaments, especially the schools that host the events. And I think we kind of prefaced this part of the high school schedule last week by kind of saying look, it's not district championships or league championships that are on the line, but there is a sense of pride. You win those banners at these events. You get individual trophies and awards. You get to get the team pictures taken. And it really is something that you do kind of work toward at the beginning part of the season. And it's an opportunity for you to excel and show off and win a championship and celebrate with your teammates while your friends and family are in the stands. So the kids really take advantage of that opportunity. They really enjoy it. I was only at the Linett Memorial Basketball Tournament girls final as a kind of a viewing fan. I got there a little bit late. Sam Freeman took the scribe part of it and did a good job writing up the game report on that. But you just see the pure joy on the faces of the players from Scranton Prep who came away with a victory over Scranton, which had been the defending champions. And then, of course, you see, if you don't think it's important to those kids, kind of get a look at the faces of of dejection from the players from Scranton who were not able to defend their title, but certainly put up quite a valiant fight in that regard. And then in the boys' final, Joe, we had a very, very tight battle early on between Holy Cross and Scranton. Scranton, of course, being the defending champion. And that game really came down to Adam Bederker got really hot in the second quarter shooting the ball from the outside, and he gave Holy Cross just enough of a punch to kind of get rolling offensively. Holy Cross is going to play defense, Joe, and that made things extremely difficult for Scranton. And then Matt Lyons got himself involved in what, Joe, really, you as a basketball aficionado would have been very, very happy to see the great low man post battle between Matt Lyons and Pedro Lugo from Scranton. It was almost old school for basketball fans who are a little bit too much into this generation of basketball where the 3-pointer is a primary source of offense. Back in the old days, everything ran through the post, and these two guys can really play it. Throughout the course of the tournament, both Matt Lyons and Pedro Lugo really put on an outstanding show for the fans with their dunking ability. And I know sometimes you kind of get caught up in that because you don't see it that often in high school or in the pros and college. You see it a little bit more, but it was really great. And it was an entertaining weekend of play at the Lackawanna College Student Union. And I want to say, Joe, now that we're no longer affiliated with the tournament, I have to thank the great people over at Lackawanna College who were extremely cooperative in helping me out with everything that I needed to cover the games that I did cover in my 2 days. Of course, Tom Ferguson, Danny Berg, and Eric Larson over there at that crew. Just a great job. And I was able to, get a good parking spot, and I was able to get a good seat behind the press table watching the live stream broadcast that Tom Ferguson was in charge of. So got to see some replays, and it was a lot of fun, Joe. So good way to finish off the holiday tournament season for me.
Absolutely. Joby, I believe it was Mike D'Antoni who said the post play is the worst play in basketball, and that has frankly always been crap. And that's why.
Well, Joe, if you can remember, his style of basketball was just
7 seconds or less.
Yeah, he didn't run plays. He just got down to a spot, get the ball, and shoot,
Yep, and it resulted in 0 championships.
Imagine that.
How about that? So that is
shockingly, Joe, Bill Russell won 10, I believe. Right?
Yeah. Is it 11? I think it's 11.
10 as a player, 1 as a coach.
Oh, yeah, something like that. But yeah, and he seemed to have some success in the post.
Yeah, Abdul-Jabbar was pretty tough in the post. He never won anything, no success there.
Right. Shaq,
yeah.
The triangle offense, who needs that? But no, in all seriousness, that's great to hear. Man, Holy Cross just has weapons everywhere. You got
Yo, my goodness gracious, do they have players?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Baderka, 17 points in the final.
Sophomore.
He's a sophomore. Added 23 points in the semifinal. I mean, this is, obviously we've talked about it and we'll continue to talk about it, but it's
Joe, he's a sophomore, right? And he really is a heck of a shooter.
Yeah.
Right? He can really knock down the 3-pointers. That's why I think Holy Cross has such a real shot when it gets into these open court games in the state playoffs. I think, he just offers that ability to kick the ball out and knock down those threes. And you've got another sophomore, CJ Thompson, who's on the ball defense is just incredible. I mean, he just really played lockdown defense last night, which has been his signature throughout his first year and a half as a varsity starter. And of course, Michael Hughes, he only had 2 points last night, but he's just an intense player, and you have to put so much attention defensively on trying to slow him down and his kind of path to the basket that they just have so many people that can score, so many people that can get to the basket. They're so athletic. They're so determined. They're so well coached. They've only been playing since last March together. So, they never stop playing as a group, and you just see that on the court.
Absolutely. And obviously we've also talked about the Scranton Prep girls, but, speaking of, weapons everywhere, I mean, Bella Denenbaum ends up getting the MVP of the tournament. She had 18 points in the semis and then 7 points and 8 rebounds in the final. But obviously that's another team that has weapons everywhere and, avenging a loss to Scranton in that final. So, congratulations to Scranton Prep as well.
Joe, listen, there's another team that went to a state final last year. All 5 starters are back, has some talent coming off the bench with a season's worth of experience. And they're just so patient. You just can't rattle a team that's been through a state playoff run. Credit to Scranton. It really gave a great effort, especially early on. The game was particularly close and well played by both teams. A lot of talent on both sides. Chrissy Jacklinski, of course, from Scranton, the O'Shea sisters, Maggie and Maddie, very, very good basketball players. And there's some emerging stars there for Scranton as well. But just the veteran leadership that Scranton Prep has. Joe, you watch, Jenna Hillebrand and Bella Denenbaum, who you mentioned was the MVP. Maya Jenkins is a 2-time All-State player. And, she knocked down some big shots yesterday. It's just a veteran group. Ashlyn Moore at one of the guard positions. But the big thing for Scranton Prep, Joe, and again, congratulations also to Coach Bob Avila, career win number 200.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yep.
Yeah. Well, of course, when you take a team to 20-plus wins every year, you're going to do that. But 200 career wins for him, and he's done a great job in emphasizing defense, which, Joe, you didn't ever wanted to play defense when you were at Holy Cross, for crying out loud.
No.
That's how you end up in the doghouse, Joe. Got a lot of place to be.
It's true. I should have slapped the floor, Joby.
I should have got to slap the floor. You know, I love that. And listen, Bobby Baviglia, he does emphasize defense with this Scranton Prep team, which, of course, as you mentioned, has a lot of scoring options as well. But just a great effort by them, and congratulations on that line of tournament championship.
Absolutely, Joby. Now I'm gonna fly through some other strong performances.
Please do.
Holiday tournaments, and obviously just stop me where you see fit. So at the top here, I have Justin Blanding of Wallenpaupack boys basketball. He had 25 points to lead the Buckhorns to a 55-38 victory over East Stroudsburg South for the Honesdale JC's tournament title. He also had 16 points in a win over a 44-43 win over Honesdale in the semis. Ella Clementoni of North Pocono girls basketball. She had 19 points to lead North Pocono to a 44-23 victory over Riverside in the Taylor Lions tournament title game. She also added 19 points in a 55-20 semifinal victory over Lackawanna Trail. Natalie Goldstein, Honesdale girls basketball, had 16 points to lead Honesdale to a 50-33 victory over Wallenpaupack in the championship game of the Honesdale JC's tournament. She also added 19 points in a 51-35 semifinal win over Western Wayne. I pulled out Gianna Costa of Valley View girls basketball, but it was really a team effort for Valley View as 4 players scored 13 points in a 54-23 victory over Mid-Valley in the championship game of the Kimoni tournament. Costa was one of those players who had 13 points. She also added a game-high 16 in a semifinal win over Carbondale area. Old Forge basketball, I know we had a early stat correction in this one, Joby, but Cameron Parker of Old Forge boys basketball had 21 points in a 60-46 win over Wyoming area in the semifinals, and 19 points in a 62-47 win over Northwest in the finals of the Marsico tournament. Also for Riverside, Jerry Rose had 21 points in a 60-34 win over North Pocono in the Taylor Lions tournament final. Also had 20 points in the semifinals as the Vikings beat Forest City. So those are some of the performances over these holiday tournaments, Joe.
Joe, I think you did a tremendous job in recapping everything. I'm really interested now as we get back into the Lackawanna League season. You mentioned some of the tournament champions there, of course, and we had some great individual performances in those tournaments. But just thinking off the top of my head, because I know the rankings came out today as well, that both Valley View teams are 9-0. Valley View boys and Valley View girls, and what a great job the coaching staffs of both of those programs have done. Rob Martin with the girls and Mike Kerpis with the boys. It is extremely difficult to start off with that kind of success. And for both programs to do that, these are teams that practice, one right after the other in the same gymnasium. And, they both have some really good signature wins early on in the season here. You've got Valley View boys that have won now the Toronis NBT Holiday Classic at Carbondale area, and also have a win over Holy Cross to the credit. And the Valley View girls have now the Lou Kimoni Memorial Tournament to their credit, and in addition have a win over Dunmore in the preseason. So I really am looking forward to seeing both of those teams play as we move forward into the Lackawanna League season. What a level of depth of talent in the Lackawanna Division II boys, Joe. You've got Riverside won its holiday tournament championship in the Taylor Lions tournament, have already played and lost to Holy Cross, which won the Lineup Memorial Championship. Old Forge won its Anthony Badger Marsico Holiday Championship. So those 3 teams are going to be duking it out the entire course of their regular season. And right out of the chute, we've already had Holy Cross play Riverside before the holiday break. Coming out of it, we've got Holy Cross playing at Old Forge. And if history serves me well, and my ability to recall great statistics, Joe, there has been only one Old Forge team that has defeated Holy Cross in its history. I believe you're extremely familiar with that game, Joe Baress.
I sure am. I played
so
in it.
this year, though, that should be a pretty intense battle between Old Forge and Holy Cross later on this week. I believe that game is Thursday night. So some great stuff over the holidays, Joe. I can't wait for the regular season to get started, because now things get really serious and down to business.
That's absolutely right, Joby. And first of all, I want to thank you for, obviously for bringing up our defeat against Old Forge in 2008 or 2007, 2008, something like that. I don't even know when I graduated, but anyway.
So I believe the overall record is something in the neighborhood of 44-1.
Yep.
In favor of Holy Cross in that series.
Yeah, that one.
How many did you have in that game, Joe?
I got to be honest with you. I was trying to look it up. I think I had like 8 points.
That's good. Yeah, well, you
pretty solid.
Joe, you did your best. What were you going to do?
You
tried everything you could. That might have been. Was that a season high for you?
I was going to say my season high was 10. So
okay, so you did everything you could, Joe.
I did everything I could, Joby.
Awesome. Great job by you.
At least I'm proud of that.
So you should always be proud of all of the work you do.
That's right. I appreciate it, Joby. I also want to thank you for, talking in those last few minutes, because I decided to take a gulp of water and it went completely down the wrong pipe.
Joe, you've got all kinds of health issues today. Your nose is bleeding. You can't take a drink of water without spitting it up on yourself. My goodness gracious.
I don't know what I'm doing today, but we're more than halfway through here, so let's power through. Joby.
You're the one stumbling to the finish.
That's true. That's true. Joby, you've already been up, doing stuff for work.
Joe, I was doing box score corrections and all kinds of things at 5 a.m.
Oh my God. So
I sent you an email at 5.
I know. I know. Yeah, I think it was 5:11. Yep.
With the hope that you would read it by 5 p.m.
Yep. Yeah. And I did.
I'm sure you did.
I did. So, but let's move on to, I was selfishly trying to look up the box score from that game.
That's okay. You're allowed to do that. You're the host of the show.
That's right. That's right. So what I do want to talk about is, you touched on it and I kind of did too, but why don't you start off with, what is coming up in basketball? And, obviously.
Now wait, Joe, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
I do have an obligation today that I need to fulfill on the podcast. You didn't even know this was coming.
No.
I think you might have known. You just forgot you had all these issues at home and all these things going on. You can't stop your nose from bleeding. You can't drink any water.
It's true.
The Packers lost again.
Lost.
Everything's going against you. Yeah. I brought up a loss to Old Forge. He gave you shivers, for crying out loud. You started having nightmares. But I was extremely busy last week in addition to my basketball responsibilities. And that was because it was the most controversial time of the year for me as a high school football writer.
Mm-hmm.
As the All-State.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And our Times-Tribune All-Region team were released.
Yep.
Since last we spoke. So let's do it this way, Joe. I'm going to first congratulate all the players that were recognized first and foremost on the Times-Tribune All-Region team. Joe, there's a little thing that I like to bring out at this time of the year, and I try to remind all those who think that they deserve to be on the team. I give you a lot of credit, and all those fans who saw their particular players and felt that they deserved recognition, I certainly understand your perspective. These are the best players who, in a combination of information I gathered from the coaches and from my experience in seeing these players in person. I want to make sure that is as clear as I can be. Okay. I do have a little bit of say in who gets picked for this team because I do see the games. And I have said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it to any coach or fan. It behooves you to play well if I'm on the sideline watching the game.
Right.
That helps your candidacy.
Right.
Okay. But Louis Baress was my offensive player of the year, or our offensive player of the year, the Times-Tribune. Terrific overall season. I truly felt it kind of put him over the top to be the offensive player of the year, Joe, when he got hurt against Northwestern Lehigh and Scranton Prep really could not muster any kind of offense after that. So that's how you realize how valuable he was to the success of the Scranton Prep program. And that's not saying that wasn't the best team. It certainly was the best team, and he had terrific players around him. But he certainly, by that happening, I thought put him over the top to be honored as the offensive player of the year. Okay?
Yep.
Max Kimmel from Lackawanna Trail was my our defensive player of the year. And that reason came, and again, sometimes these guys who play at the smaller schools, they don't get as much individual attention from guys from the bigger schools, okay? They don't get a chance to see them play. They don't get a chance to play them head to head, so they don't really understand or comprehend the impact that a player like a Max Kimmel can have on a program. At the Class A level, he had something like 9 interceptions. He returned 3 interceptions for a touchdown. He returned a fumble for a touchdown. You can't have a better impact on a game defensively from the secondary than Max Kimmel had, and his team won a District 2 championship and was just terrific and beat Riverside head-to-head in the Lackawanna Football Conference Division 3. Harry Armstrong, of course, was our coach of the year and leading Riverside to the PIAA Class 2A semifinals, but more importantly, he helped lead Riverside to its first District 2 championship since 2010. Okay?
Yep.
Now, Joe, we go into the All-State. So the players who get recognized as All-State come from that pool of players who were named to the All-Region team, okay? Those are the guys who get nominated. And trust me when I tell you, I think I touched on it last week, this nominating process and the voting for these All-State teams, all of us sports writers, and there's a lot of us in this group, take this very seriously. So if you made one of these teams, believe me, you earned it, and it's something you should be very, very proud of.
Definitely.
If you didn't make it and you kind of feel you did deserve it, or your coaches feel you deserve it, or your fans or your family think you deserve it, listen, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's extremely difficult to be named to these teams.
Absolutely.
It's very competitive. And remember, you're trying to get a berth on one of these all-state teams against, with your statistics and your play and your team's success overall, all those factors that come in comparison to everybody across the state, not just across the county or across the block. It's across the state in your respective classification. So congratulations to all those kids. We had a big haul the first day for Lackawanna Trail players, which they all certainly deserved it. Lackawanna Trail, I thought, was probably the second or third best team in the state. Just ran into a very good Muncie team in the state playoffs. Austin Johnson from Muncie, Joe, was the Class 1A player of the year, so he was pretty good. But we had Isaac Ryan. We had Lucas Evans on the offensive line. We had Demetrius Douglas and Max Kimmel both on the all-state defensive team. Also that first day, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but we had a couple of guys from Scranton Prep. We had Lewis Baress, of course, make it. Yep. Reese Tanner, the linebacker, and Will McPartland in the secondary. Both running backs who were standouts all season, Western Wayne's Josh Vinton and Mid-Valley's Jacob Lesher, were also named to the all-state team in Class 3A. So that was a pretty good day for us in Class 3A, Joe.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we have the second day of these big things. We had Gianni Marino, linebacker from Valley View, make the Class 4A team for a second straight year. So congratulations to him. And Riverside had a nice group. 3 guys get in. Of course, Chase Tedonio, who's been on the show here before. We've had Richie Kostoff at tight end. And, of course, the big one, Tavion Branch, the big Division I prospect. He had a great year. He was also on the All-State team. So congratulations to all those guys. And again, Joe, congratulations to all the All-Region selections as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Joby, you said it. It's a really, really, I mean, you should be honored to make anything because, as we've spoken about, earlier this episode, there's absolutely incredible talent throughout not only this area, but obviously in the state as well. So absolutely congratulations to those athletes. So I think what we could do now is move on to the what is coming this week. Obviously, I'm going to start with, you know what, Joby? Why don't you start with some boys and girls basketball? What are we looking ahead to this week?
Well, Joe, forgive me. I had to take a drink of my tea. You let me rattle on like that for a while. All this talk about your nosebleed and everything else going on, I kind of needed a little squirt of tea.
You needed to focus. Let's talk a little bit about wrestling. We'll go back to me.
Yes, Joe, this show is supposed to be about you.
That's true. So, Joby, as we had mentioned earlier, the league season kicks back up starting Thursday, obviously because Wednesday is a holiday.
Yes.
So the league season will start up again on Thursday. We got some Division I matchups, Scranton at West Scranton, Wampaupack at Delaware Valley, Division II matchup of North Pocono at Lackawanna Trail, Division III matchup Elk Lake at Montrose. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of shakes out on that day. But a day later, we have Western Wayne at Honesdale, a big time Division II matchup. These were the 2 best teams in Division II last season. Now, Honesdale, as we mentioned, Honesdale's a juggernaut. Western Wayne's going to have its hands full, but obviously there's a great rivalry between these 2 schools that we see across sports, and it should be a good one. I'll be there, Joby. I'll be covering that.
So I'm always happy when you say you're going out to an event.
That's right. Absolutely. So I'll be there. And a little bit of an added bonus, Joby, is before that Division II boys wrestling matchup, we've got a nice little undercard of girls wrestling. Two of our Lackawanna League teams that have, full teams, Western Wayne will be facing off against Honesdale. They're two of really our four Lackawanna League programs, Western Wayne, Honesdale, Delaware Valley, and Wampaupack, that have full girls teams. So it'll definitely be interesting to see. Obviously there's, a great wrestlers on Honesdale's side, Jaden Mikulak and Sage Olver. And obviously on Western Wayne, you have Mia Gifford, who I believe is only a sophomore, who's a very talented wrestler there. So it should be a fun day. Looking forward to it. And I'll end up going to a wrestling match, I believe, on Thursday as well. I'm just not sure which one yet, but.
Now, Joe, listen. Yep. So Thursday becomes extremely busy for us because the Lackawanna Boys League resumes on Thursday, I should say.
Right.
Okay. And we've got a big one with Holy Cross playing Old Forge. We've touched on a little bit there, but I'm going to be interested to see how some of these teams come out here because it's really tight. I know usually we come right out after the new year and we start back into the league season, but this year, because New Year's Day falls midweek, we get right into the action the following day. So,
yep.
I know the holiday tournament schedule kind of gives you an idea of how you want to prepare. But if I remember correctly, one of the big things about the holiday tournaments, Joe, is coaches really want that day of practice after Christmas Day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
To kind of get the team refocused and whatnot. But we're getting right back into it on Thursday.
Exactly, Joby. So it should be very interesting. It's not usually how it shakes out, Joby. I feel like I don't know.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. I think you give a day, but right. We're going with the Thursday Friday combination package here this week. The girls have their second league game date on Friday.
Exactly. So, So I mean, Joby, it never stops.
No, listen, we're going to be. This is a busy time for us. There's no question about it. But I enjoy this part of the season as we get into the things that really matter for these kids in these league battles and the quest for division championships. I know kind of people this year in particular in basketball, Joe, we've got teams with some extremely high expectations because of the great year that they had last year, getting to the state final with Mountain View and Holy Cross boys and the Scranton Prep girls. But I never want our fans and certainly the players to lose sight of the fact that the league championships do mean something. They are significant and they are worth playing for and competing for. And I think the players do a real good job of keeping that perspective. And I think there's going to be some real intense matchups here in the regular season. We talked about the top 10s coming out or being released on Monday in the pages of the Times-Tribune, or the online version of the Times-Tribune, the e-edition. You've got, Valley View number 1 in the boys poll. You've got Holy Cross number 2. Those two teams have already played and they will not play again in the regular season. You've got Scranton and Riverside among those top teams as well. Old Forge, after its tournament championship, coming out with a 7-1 record in the non-leagues part of their season. So there's some really good boys basketball teams. Then on the girls side of it, we mentioned how talented Scranton Prep is. And if I'm not mistaken, Scranton Prep comes right out and has to have a rematch with Scranton on Friday.
Yes, it does. Exactly.
So yeah, it's just I think the one thing about girls basketball, Joe, that I find very interesting is there are some real star players. You mentioned Giada Costa from Valley View, but Cora Castellani's had a great year so far. Ella Clementoni from North Pocono. We talked about Chrissy Jaklinski at Scranton. Those girls are all sophomores.
Yeah.
Just some great young talent out there in the Lackawanna League, to say the least.
Exactly. And Joey, I mean, you mentioned league titles. The thing that was so crushing about that Old Forge loss years ago is we had to play a playoff for the second half title against Valley View because we lost that game. And so it really, I concur that
no, league titles
are important. I absolutely care. And, good news, Joby, I found the box score.
Okay.
I did, in fact, have 8 points. I unfortunately missed a free throw, though,
Joe, give us some details. Who was the high scorer in that?
High scorer in that game was, I'm sure you won't be surprised, Steven Semenza.
Mm-hmm.
He led the upset. It was a 65-56 victory for Old Forge. He had 25 points, and he ended up that night reaching 1,413 points for his career. Geez, Mark Alexander scored 16 of his 20 in the second half.
Couldn't contain him.
Man, what were we? My God, just breaking down defensively, Joby.
Joe, Mark Alexander was an excellent penetrator.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And he could knock down the mid-range jumper. And there was that game at the Devil's Den.
Oh, it sure was.
Joe, that's where we'll be on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, what a tough place to play, man. What a tough
electric atmosphere in there, Joe.
Well, thank God for Brett Podolsky, who scored 18 points, or we would have been in some real trouble. But
Joe, again, I like to throw this bragging around, but and I may be wrong on this, but I'm pretty certain that I'm not. Brett Podolsky's father was a Lakeland graduate.
Yes.
An excellent athlete at Lakeland High School, mind you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, I was always a big fan of Brett Podolsky.
Well, he was just a top player, Joe.
Super talented, often played injured, as you know. I mean, that season he played with 2 bad ankles.
Joe, now you knew him a little bit better than I knew him, but it was his personality in class similar to that and his post game where he didn't really say a lot, but boy, he could play the game.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. Honestly, he played the game hard. He didn't say, like you said, he didn't say much when they rolled those balls out on the court. Well, just the one ball, but he got after it, and he was talented with. I was always so super impressed by his talent with both hands. Like, it seemed like he could shoot a runner in the lane with his left just as easy as with his right. He honestly made the game look so easy, and you're right, he was tough.
Well, that'll be a good matchup.
Yep.
Joe, on Thursday, Holy Cross and Old Forge. Looking forward to that. Now, believe it or not, Joe, this hour, despite all of our setbacks, has gone very quickly. I do want to mention, you had asked me earlier about what's coming up. Now, you're in charge of these things, so I don't really know if it got the green light or not. But I did write a story about former Lakeland tight end and current Alabama tight end CJ Dippre.
Yes.
So is that going to actually see the light of day, Joe, or am I going to just have to do some sort of a big social media push?
Joby, let's take a look, and it is in fact on a page right now.
Superb. I'm very happy to hear that.
So,
but look, we all know CJ's had a pretty interesting career. He started at Maryland. He transferred through the portal to University of Alabama, helped the Crimson Tide win the SEC championship last year and play your Michigan Wolverines in the national semifinal. And then this year got to be the number 1 ranked team for a week after upsetting Georgia, in which he had one of his better games. But then Alabama lost, of course, to Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma, 2 losses that Alabama do not count. But CJ, in fact, said they do count. So that was interesting. When I was speaking to him and I interviewed him for this, he said, listen, we didn't take care of our business, so we weren't able to make it to the 12-team playoff. And they are playing the ReliaQuest Bowl tomorrow afternoon, Joe. And it will be CJ's final collegiate football game. I don't know how much he's going to play, but he did choose to play in the game for Alabama. And he has also been invited to play in the prestigious Senior Bowl, where NFL scouts will get an opportunity to see him and evaluate him, which he is looking forward to. It's not just the game where they get evaluated. They go through a week's worth of workouts and practices and pre-NFL draft combine type drills and skills and stuff. So he's looking forward to that opportunity as well. It's a real good interview, and the biggest thing that he's most proud of is that he earned his degree with a major and a minor ahead of time. He graduated this December. So it's a neat little wrap up of what was a great college career for a kid who really was one of our marquee players coming out of high school.
Absolutely, Joby. I'm looking forward to reading that one. And I think Alabama's going to be okay against Michigan tomorrow.
Big rematch, though. I know you'll be there with your caramel corn and your big soda pop. So
of course. So, But
Getting ready to ring in the new year, Joe. You'll be watching We Are at night.
right. Seriously, we got Penn State tomorrow, heavily favored. But
I got them by 21 over Boise, Joe.
oh my God. Yeah. Well,
I know that doesn't sit well with you, but that's just my opinion.
it's a lot of points. It's a lot of points, Joby. But that's really how it's shaken out. It looks like that spreads down to 11.
I heard that, but that doesn't matter to me.
No, I know. I know, Joby. So yeah, big day of college football tomorrow.
And the following day, Joe, New Year's Day.
New Year's Day, you got the 3 games: Texas, Arizona State, Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame against Georgia, starting at 8:45. Joby, you gonna be able to stay up for that one?
That'd be a tough one for me. I'm getting quite old.
Exactly. So, yeah, it should be a fun day. Joby, you said this weeks ago, but I think you're right. I think our teams might be on a collision course in the NFL. Little Packers Rams.
Joe, let's just the Rams clinched last night without having to play, thank heavens, because they've played very lousy football for the last 3 weeks and beaten Buffalo. Look, Joe, I look at the NFL playoffs as this. I think that there are 3 really good teams overall with, I believe Detroit and Minnesota are very good. And I think Philadelphia is also an extremely talented team in the NFC. The biggest thing for the Eagles, of course, will be if Jalen Hurts can come back healthy.
Right.
The Rams are not one of those teams. And so any game that the Rams get to play in the postseason is a bonus for me because, quite frankly, I don't think the Rams are very talented. But, yeah, it looks like we could play against the Packers in a rematch. I believe you beat the pants off the Rams the first time you played. We'll see how it works out the second time.
It just might be a valuable matchup. And, again, you don't really have a home field, especially playing against Green Bay. So
Thanks, Rick.
That's all right. Now the Packers are the 7th seed. So after their loss yesterday, as you mentioned,
things will change this week, though, Joe. That'll show.
I hope you're right. So we'll see how that breaks down. But Joby, other than that, I think
last thing I'm going to give you, Joe.
Yeah.
Megan was home for the holiday, and she and I decided to sit in one night and watch Carry On. On Netflix.
What did you
Joe,
think?
If you're going to review any streaming movies on Netflix, I recommend that for you and Rebecca Kivak. Give it a watch. It's a very intense drama.
Joby, it was good.
You saw it?
Yeah, I ended up watching it, popping it on. Yeah, it's a nice little thriller. If you're looking for a fun movie, a fun family movie, this isn't the one. But
I wouldn't watch this with your kids. No.
But if you're like me and Joby, and you like a little thrill and an intense, solid thriller, it's good. It's on Netflix. You got 2 thumbs up from me and Joby on that one. Absolutely, give that a watch. Other than that, Joby,
you have a great new year, Joe, you and your family. Enjoy the time and try to ring it in the right way at 12:01 when the giant crystal ball falls in Times Square.
That's right, Joby. Same to you and your family. Obviously, again, thanks for joining me on Joby. 20 episodes in here.
Congratulations, Joe. I knew you'd make it.
We had another great guest in Brian Hurd. We appreciate him joining us again, our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week. The interview I did with him will be in Tuesday's paper, which is tomorrow as we're recording it, but it will be in Tuesday. And that's really it, Joby.
All right, Joe. Well, enjoy your